On today's episode of Three Wide in the Middle, Keith and I talk about a host of things in the racing world, along with Brad Sweet's now tight race for the championship. We talk about whether or not Denny Hamlin will miss the Final Four, the National Motorsports Appeals Panel's upholding of Cole Custer's penalty, whether or not NASCAR's updated rear end is a step in the right direction. And we open up the show with the end of an era when it comes to Mercedes dominance in F1. And then we close things out with an Ask 3 Wide email from a listener. So sit back, enjoy the show. Welcome everybody to Three Wide in the Middle with me, my man Keith Bradley. Keith, how's it going?
What is going on?
Not much. Apologies to everybody. We're coming at you a day late, so I don't really have a legit excuse. I just started a new work schedule this week, and I've been trying to get caught up on everything that I'm behind on, which, believe it or not, is everything. I'm literally behind on like everything, and I literally forgot yesterday was Thursday. Like, I did not know what day of the week it was until I was on the computer looking at the calendar and was like, oh shit, it's Thursday and it's 2:00 in the afternoon. We forgot to do the pod. Luckily for me, my man Keith, he forgot too. Now you've got more of an excuse than I do. You were actually getting some well needed and deserved sleep. So
yeah, I may or may not have slept through my alarm
yeah,
because, of course, I worked the night before.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
Oh, well,
how's
stuff happens.
how's the baby doing? How's Bristol and mom doing?
They're doing great. Baby's healthy, mom's healthy. Couldn't ask for anything better from it.
Right on, man. So how long were you guys in the hospital when they get to come home?
So, like right around a day and a half.
Oh, nice, man.
So
That's good.
we went in Thursday and we were out Friday before 5:00.
Oh,
If not right
wow.
at 5. Yeah.
Yeah, see, when we went in for my wife, man, we were there for like 5 days. Because she had gone in, they induced her labor, her water broke, they induced her labor. We were there for like 12 hours. Then the one thing that they told us that wouldn't happen happened. The placenta detached, and all of a sudden she's like gushing blood, and they had to rush her in for emergency C-section. And so, did all that, and because of the complications from the pregnancy, I'm not going to pretend to know understand stuff, but like my wife has like this rare blood type, and the rush with the C-section, all these different things. We ended up having to be there like 4 days after that first day. Like I think we came home on the 5th day, so it was long,
Yeah,
man. It sucked. And
that's
when we got home, it wasn't like it was a whole lot better. She had, obviously her stomach sliced open. And so, I'm having to help her get up and get down. And it's just, yeah, it was horrible.
Yeah, I'm glad we didn't have to do a C-section because,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, from what I've heard, very miserable time.
It,
A very miserable time.
I've obviously, being a male, I've never had a C-section. Not really possible for me, but I've had stomach surgery. I had 3 feet of my small intestine removed. And I can tell you right now, my stomach operation was the most painful experience I've ever been through. I've had a total of probably 10 or 11 operations in my life. I've had 6 knee operations in 6 years. I would go through all of those knee surgeries again before I would go through that stomach surgery again. It's so painful when you have stuff like that to your stomach. So yeah, that's good, man. I'm glad they're home and everything's going good. So
Yep, thanks, appreciate it.
but Anyways, well, what do we got on the docket for today? Well, we got a couple of things we got to cover. Interesting week last week in the world of racing. Had some shakeups in a couple of series, particularly in the world of Outlaws, which we'll be talking about as we've got the World Finals coming this next week, and it's going to be coming down to the wire in the sprint cars. Just about every time we think we've got this championship figured out, all of a sudden there's a freaking curveball. So we'll be talking about that because that's
Major
definitely,
curveball this
yeah,
time.
major curveball. So big stuff happening there. And Kyle Larson got the win at Homestead, showed just how good that team can be when it's all put together. Scary thing for the competition. They ought to be thanking the appeals board for changing that decision on Byron, because otherwise, if Larson had been in the playoffs still, it'd be hard to bet against him, because he would be one of the final four right now.
As usual,
So
though.
yeah,
As usual.
yep. So interesting stuff there. And yeah, we just got a bunch of stuff to dive into, and we'll cover a lot of that in hit or miss. But before we get to that, I want to talk about the end of an era, which officially came to an end this last weekend. So for those of you who follow F1, you know that a couple weeks ago, Max Verstappen locked up his second drivers' championship in a row. He has had just a ridiculous season. I think he's one win away from tying the record, or surpass. I think it's tying the record. One win away from tying the record for the most wins in a season, which is just insane when you talk about, when you can put your name on a list with Lewis Hamilton or Michael Schumacher. That's just doing something. It's like in sprint cars being able to put your name on the same list as like a Steve Kinser, right? Or, being up there with Petty or Earnhardt in NASCAR. It's a huge deal. Well, this last weekend at COTA, we saw Red Bull win the Constructors Championship. Now, although Verstappen won the Drivers' Championship last year, Mercedes won the Constructors' Championship, and that was their 8th straight championship. They basically had absolutely dominated the hybrid era from the moment it started. And if you look back from 2014, which was the beginning of the hybrid era, this new era that when things got changed up really, to last year, 2021, it was an absolute run of sheer domination. One thing that we love to do in any sport, and Keith, you being a fan of football and stuff like that, you know this as well. We love to label things dynasties or ask the question, is this a dynasty? Far before it should ever even be mentioned, right? Last year, when the Los Angeles Rams won the Super Bowl, if you were asking after that Super Bowl, could this be a dynasty? That is stupid. It is a dumb question. It shouldn't even be asked. To me, a dynasty is a run of consistent success over at least a 2 to 3 year span, right? So what we saw with the Golden State Warriors in the NBA, that's a dynasty where you go to multiple championships, win multiple championships in a row, right? You're winning 3 out of 4, 2 in a row, that type of thing. That's a dynasty. What we saw with the New England Patriots with Tom Brady, that's a dynasty, right? The Cowboys of the early 90s, that's a dynasty. Okay, those are dynasties. Alabama football in college right now, that's a dynasty. All right. But what is probably the ultimate dynasty was Mercedes over these last 8 years. And this last weekend, it has finally come to an end. Red Bull has won the Drivers' Championship and now the Constructors' Championship for the first time since 2015. And the craziest thing about it is an end to an era in terms of Mercedes winning the Constructors' Championship. But when you go back to, I believe, 2010, the only cars to win a championship whether driver, constructors, or both, is Red Bull or Mercedes. Red Bull won it 4 years in a row with Vettel from 10 to 13, and then from 14 to 21, it was Mercedes. 6 of those were with Lewis Hamilton. 1 of them was with Nico Rosberg. Last year, it was Hamilton and Bottas. They won the constructors together, and neither one won the drivers. And then Red Bull takes over this year. And for all that we love to rip on greatness when it's happening, the one thing I don't think people fully appreciate is just how amazing a run like that is. And for years, we've heard people saying we need to have competition. I'm right there with you. Nobody wants to see just the same person out there just clocking laps and winning by some ridiculous margin of victory. Okay? If you look at some of Mercedes' most dominant seasons, in 2014, their average margin of victory was 23 seconds. Think about that. They won 16 of 19 races, and it was by an average of 23 seconds. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. And it did not get down into single digits until 2018. And even then, they still won the championship. Now, they won the drivers and the constructors, but they had a little bit of a fall off. Bottas finished 5th that year. That was his lowest finish with the team. But even then, it was an average of 6.8 seconds margin of victory on their 11 wins that year. And now we're seeing them for the first time. We've only got a couple races left in the season, and they have not scored a victory yet. And many people are writing them off thinking that this is the end, that they're done. And although this is the end of their run in terms of consecutive Constructors' Championships, do not write them off for next year. Those of you who are throwing dirt on Lewis Hamilton like he's this washed up dead guy who just can't get it done anymore, next season when he comes out, I would not be shocked if he not only wins multiple races, but is competing and potentially winning another championship. You don't have that sustained run of greatness, right? 2014 to 21. You don't do that and then just fall off a cliff and suck. I don't care how bad the regulations change. I don't care what happens. You don't just have that kind of fall off and then just suck. And people act like they're running in the back with Williams and Haas. They're still up in the top 6 each week. Like, they're still scoring good runs. They're just not dominating the way they have. And that's the standard that they've been held to for so long because of their dominance. And it's just been an incredible run for them. I don't really have a team or a driver in F1. I really just love to watch the racing. I just want to see the guys do good. I was happy when Carlos Sainz got his first win this year. I would love to see Lando Norris score a win. I would love to see Lewis Hamilton and George Russell. Like, I just want to see good racing, and I like to see those guys do good because I think the sport is awesome when they do. But I do think it is a very, very good product when you can have multiple teams competing for the championship. And although Ferrari has literally just stepped on it this year and Mercedes struggled, and they've been putting it together recently. They haven't won yet, and they've been putting it together. Red Bull showed to be the class of the field, and it wasn't close. But don't think that they're going to be running away with it. Yes, the era for Mercedes has ended in terms of consecutive championships, but keep an eye out for them next year because I think they are going to be right there with Red Bull and potentially even better. All right, so now it is time for me and Keith's favorite portion of the show. We say it every week, hit or miss, and this is where I basically rattle off a statement, and Keith says whether it hits or misses the mark. If it hits the mark, does that mean you agree? If it misses, you don't agree. So, Keith, you ready?
Let's do it.
All right, so to get things started, After last week's race at Homestead, Denny Hamlin is now on the outside looking in of the top four, and he is 5 points below the cutoff. After this week's race at Martinsville, Denny Hamlin will miss the final four. Does that hit or miss the mark?
I think that misses the mark, and I say that because Denny's notoriously good at Martinsville.
Yes, he
Um,
is.
I think it's going to be a little tougher this time around after the last Martinsville race was a snooze fest. I think it's going to be harder for him to make it, but I see him making it. I don't see the Final Four without him making it, if that makes any sense. Um, he's just had the strongest car, I think, in the playoffs with the speed. When it comes to the speed, he's always fast. His pit crew, not so much. I think if he doesn't make it to the Final Four, one or two things happened. He was involved in a crash, or his pit crew messes up on pit road yet again.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it misses the mark. I think he's going to make the top four. Now, 5 points is essentially when you talk about the points in NASCAR. 5 points would be he would need to win, and then the other driver who is in fourth, which is Byron, would need to be in second for them to tie in points. After the first to second place, it is a point by point basis. It's just 1 point deduction. So second gets 35, third gets 34, fourth gets 33, and so on and so forth. So he's going to need to, if he does not get a win, he's going to need to finish,
He's going to have to
six
finish.
positions better than Byron. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And he's going to have to finish good in both stages.
And that's the thing too. The stage points are going to be really, really important. And that's what I am actually the most interested in seeing this week at Martinsville is how do those drivers play out the stages, because we saw where track position was so important at Martinsville. And so do you stay out and get those stage points, then come in and pit and risk going to the back? Do you try to short pit? You know what I mean? There's different ways. So the
Well,
strategy, what those guys are going to do, I think is going to be really interesting this week.
yeah, it's going to be interesting. And I guess the good thing is coming into this Michigan race, they had a test a while back. I say a while back, a couple weeks ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago. Um, and the worst case scenario for Denny, everybody got closer because of that test.
Yes.
And the upside to that is the tire fall off really isn't there like it usually is at Martinsville.
Yep.
So if you're Denny Hamlin, do you stay out that first stage and then cut the second stage in half if you get a yellow halfway, and then come in, do your pit stop, get fuel, get tires, whatever? But I think this race is just going to be interesting. I think Denny's going to have to do what Denny's got to do in both stages, and if it comes down to moving Ross out of the way, well, sorry about you.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think he's going to be too concerned with Ross. Ross is
No,
essentially in. Um,
as long as Ross don't
all
crash out, I think Ross
Yeah,
makes it.
that's pretty much it. As long as Chastain doesn't wreck, he should be in, because he is what, 19 points ahead of the cutoff or something like that. Like he's up there. I mean, he's second in points right now. So I'm with you. I think Denny has
Now
is it's qualifying is going to be everything in my
that
opinion.
that being said, we've seen Denny move guys at Martinsville before,
Well, I can tell you right now,
and if it comes down to the 11 or the 1,
if it's a
uh,
win the
yeah,
race or go
yeah,
home type
yeah.
of situation, absolutely, absolutely. So, and I would expect nothing less than that. So,
No, and I wouldn't put it past Denny
yeah,
to do it.
yeah. So, all right. Well, sticking with Martinsville, Goodyear is bringing a different tire to this week's race at Martinsville. So you alluded to the tire test that they had back in August. With that, we will see a much more exciting and competitive race than we saw in the spring. Does this hit or miss the mark?
I'm gonna have to say it misses the mark because I got to see it to believe it, for one. And looking at the speeds from that test, everybody was close. There wasn't really much fall off.
No, you're right
Um,
on that.
that concerns me. And then if you go back and you look at the spring race, yeah, different tire, same racetrack.
Mhm.
It was boring.
It
It was
was.
very boring. It wasn't the same old Martinsville. You could see guys drive it deep in the corner. Oh, I made a mistake. Let me downshift, get through the mistake, drive through the mistake, and you're clean and green. You're
Yep.
good.
Yep.
You didn't really lose much. I don't think the tire compound or the tire that they're bringing is going to make this race more exciting.
I'm I'm with you. I think it misses the mark for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think the shifting is a big deal. The shifting I think has got
Takes a lot
more
of the
to
short track aspect
yeah,
out of
I
it.
think it has a I think that has more to do with it than the tire. That being said though, one of the reasons why the spring race was so bad was outside of the shifting in terms of the tire was because and Goodyear said this, I apparently and I don't know what the weather is usually like in Martinsville, Virginia in the spring, but apparently it was much cooler than normal and the track wasn't taking
And
rubber,
it
which we know that's what kind of widens out the track, gives it to where you can actually have a little bit more of an upper groove. And we didn't see that because it was so cool. And they're supposed to, with this tire, that's supposed to be something that they're hoping to have. I
well,
don't
and I
know if they will or not. That's the thing.
I think I know it was cool because I mean, of course, it ended up being a night race, so cool. Of course, it's going to be cool.
Yeah.
And here we are again in the
Hmm.
fall. It's Virginia on the East Coast, way
Yeah.
down south.
Yeah.
It's going to be cool again. So therefore, I just need to see it before
Yep.
I can even say yes or no.
Yep.
It could be really good or it could be really bad. I'm leaning towards the bad because of the spring race. I think they need to do more than just tires. That's just me though.
Yep. Me too.
But there's people that really like it. Then there's people that really don't like it. Your hardcore fans don't like it. Your new fans like it.
Yep. Exactly. So, yeah, I'm interested to see how it's going to play out. I'm hoping that it plays out much better than the spring. I Nothing would please me more than them to go out there and it be like, oh hey man, it's got the tires fall off 5 seconds. I like that would be awesome. I have no problem with that. Hey man, we can't downshift because we spin the tires when we get on the throttle. Love it. I would that's
I
great.
would love that.
I think it
A
would be an
thousand
amazing
horsepower
race. Yes, it would be an amazing
where
race.
they're
Go out there and dump WD-40 all over the track. All right, let's slick this bitch
yeah.
up. Like I would love that. So, we'll see. Hopefully they've made it better and it's not
The
as bad as the spring race because spring race was horrible.
spring race was horrible. And it's an afternoon race this time around, correct?
Yes, it
It's a
should be an
day race?
afternoon
Yes.
race. Yes.
So the temperature, the high is 60 degrees. So
Yeah,
I hope it's exciting. I really hope it is because I love Martinsville.
I
I mean,
do
who
too.
doesn't?
I do too.
And I think this new car just ain't meant for short tracks. They need to go back to the drawing board on the whether it be the transaxles or the gear ratios and even maybe some horsepower. Maybe Kevin Harvick's right. I'm
Yeah,
gonna lean that Kevin Harvick's right.
something, change something with it. So yeah, but we'll see if they do that in the off season. I mean, we're
Don't
getting
hold your breath on
close.
it
Yeah.
being good.
Exactly. So, speaking of changes, NASCAR put out a video on Twitter showing an updated design to the rear end of their now the next gen car. So it actually showed in a 33. It's only a 33 mile per hour crash, but it actually shows the rear end crushing. Where when you look at the current one, it just like
Bounces right
hits
off
and
the
it
wall.
like bounces off. So this new rear design is a step in the right direction. Hit or miss the mark, Keith.
I think it hits the mark, but it hits a day late and a dollar short. They should have done this sooner. Should have made the changes sooner and not wait till next year. Because I mean, we've been preaching on here. When's the last time we've seen multiple drivers sit out races because of concussions?
Yeah.
Never.
And we
Rarely.
lost a driver. You know what I mean? Like Kurt
Yeah.
Busch is
And
retiring.
yeah. So I mean, I love that they're making the changes and they're showing, hey, we're making the changes. We're doing what we need to do to make this car safer. But season's almost over, and it probably should have been changed 4 months ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. You don't want to make a ton of changes in the middle of a season, then it messes up the aerodynamics of the car possibly. I don't know. But like we were talking off air, I think the days of seeing the rear deck lid into the back window are over. I think they're gone, especially with the composite body now.
Yeah.
Um, I love that they're making changes, and it looks promising so far. Yes, it was at 33 miles an hour. We don't know what it's going to do at speeds because it ain't next year yet.
Yep. So I'm with you. I think it is a step in the right direction. I also think it is late. It was only at 33 miles per hour. It does crush and it crushes up well. And that's actually kind of I was actually kind of shocked when I saw the video because it was at only 33 miles per hour and it crushes quite a bit. So it makes me wonder what's it going to do at 140. There is a lot more in the back of these cars now when you talk about, components, right? When you consider that you've got the transaxle back there, you've got those coilovers, you've got, an ARB back there, right? That they run at all times. Those are all things that can potentially puncture the fuel cell. And when you talk about something crushing like that, and now you've got these other parts breaking, bending, potentially snapping off, and potentially poking holes in a fuel cell, as horrible as concussions are, I bet if you took a poll with those drivers, every one of them would take a concussion over being burned in the cockpit. So,
I agree with that.
yeah, so it's a step in the right direction. We've been talking about wanting to see the drivers not be absorbing so much, but it's a fine line. What that they got to walk with, that they're going to have to walk with this. So obviously we got to wait and see further testing and what the data shows. But overall, just looking
And,
at that, it's definitely a step in the right direction.
and in all honesty, I think the changes should have been made after, was it Daytona or Talladega? Either or. One of the super speedways where Bubba Wallace had to catch his breath, got the wind knocked out of him just from bump
Yeah,
drafting.
if you're getting
That
the
should have
wind knocked out
raised
of you, yeah,
that should have raised a red flag. NASCAR should have said something. They've stayed very quiet.
yep,
Very, very quiet. And I think that's why you see these veterans, the savvy veterans coming out saying, "Look, these cars aren't safe."
yeah, yep,
And I'm glad they're making the changes.
me
Let,
too,
let's
me
let's have
too,
the longevity of the car and the driver.
yep,
Most importantly, the driver.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, all right, moving on. Denny Hamlin got it right when he said that he would rather have 60 wins in his career over a cup championship. Hit or miss the mark, Keith?
I'd say it hits the mark. Well, I mean, let's face it. Denny without a championship is the modern day Mark Martin. I'd say
He
he is
is.
probably the very best race car driver without a championship, and if you don't get one, he'll go down as the very best. I mean, the man's won what? 3 Daytona 500. He's won every crown jewel
He's won everything, yeah,
other than the
except the
Brickyard
champion.
400, I
Yes.
think, in the
Yes.
in the
Mhm.
championship. Unfortunately, the Brickyard 400's gone, so he's won every crown jewel.
Yep.
He's accomplished everything you can accomplish outside of a championship. Um,
Yes.
so I gotta agree with it.
Yeah, I'm so torn on this. Um, part of me, the cynical side of me is like, yeah, well, that's just what people who haven't won championships say. You know what I mean? Like that's just what, it's like, what's that joke from the movie Liar Liar where 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 the kid says, "My teacher says that real beauty's on the inside." And he's like, "Yeah, that's just something ugly people say." It's like it's kind of like that, It's like, yeah, that's just what non-champions say. But also part of me believes that, and I can almost believe that he believes that, just because to win a championship now, it's not. I think the prestige of the championship has been reduced a little bit, right? Like when you look at, for example, you look at the 7 championships that Richard Petty or Dale Earnhardt won. You had to be on it every week for the entire season, right? That level of consistency had to be there. Don't take anything away from Jimmy Johnson, because here's the deal. think if that was the format that Jimmy Johnson would probably have close to 7. The dude just dominated a lot of those years, right? But, you know, he won in a different era where it was like, look, man, you just got to be on there at the end. You know, you look at, there's been a couple of seasons where, you know, Kevin Harvick, for example, should have
Yeah,
had a championship.
2014
Yeah, you know what I
or
mean?
2000. What was it? 2018,
It was 2000.
19,
It was, yeah,
where he won 10
yeah,
races.
he won 10
Yeah,
races. Yep. You know, and look, Denny Hamlin, that I think that year also had like 8 or 9 wins. You know what I mean? Like they were the two winningest drivers and they didn't end up with the championship that year. So, you know, I think now the playoff aspect of it, it does make it more exciting. It does bring a level of drama to the sport that we didn't have before. And that's great. It really is. It definitely puts it into the realm of these other sports like NFL, NBA, even, you know, Major League Baseball, NHL hockey. Like, I mean, there's a lot of teams that make the playoffs in hockey, but even if you're not a hockey fan, there's very few things more exciting than the NHL playoffs. There really is. It's like one of the greatest tournaments on earth. It's incredible. And NASCAR's got this level of drama with it now, which is awesome. But very rarely do we see the driver who's had the best year all year win the championship, right? Obviously, last year we saw it with Kyle Larson. The year before, you could very well make the argument that, you know, Chase Elliott won the championship, but he did not have the best overall year. You know what I mean? He was there when he needed to be. And so I think that's what's kind of taken a little bit of the shine off of the way people like you and me think of a championship. And I think Denny Hamlin falls into that category too. Those guys were around, you know, back when it was the entire season, you know, we the whole year was the championship. So I think it hits the mark because I would not be shocked if Denny truly believes that, because I think that is one of those mindsets that you could have where you're like, well, it's not really a yearly award anymore. You know, you can make that argument in your head.
well, that and how many times have we seen Denny Hamlin go into the Final Four and it just everything fall apart for him?
Well, and that's the
Everything.
thing, you know.
And I think more so coming into this year with this new car and a big unknown,
Mm-hmm.
I think that throws up an even bigger question mark. Because if we're in the old car, I disagree with him.
Yes.
Just
Yeah.
because the 11 in the old car was by far one of the
Yeah, he was
fastest
so
cars at
good.
every race,
Yeah, he was so good.
and
S-
it just sucks. I hope
Yeah.
he gets one before he retires, but if he don't, he's got I'd say a gold pass to the Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah, I'm with you. You know,
Anybody that disagrees, I mean, you just
yeah, I
it's
think
common.
you're wrong. Yeah, anybody who disagrees, I think you're wrong. That's like, you know, those people who talk about when you know, there's dirt drivers out there. They'll be like, well, they never won a championship. It's like, are you an idiot though? Like, yeah, Jack Hodenshield didn't win the Outlaw Championship. He won everything else. The dude's a Hall of Famer, right? You know what I mean? It's like, come on, give me a break. The same thing with Denny Hamlin or a
And
Mark
and
Martin. Like,
and what they don't
they won
realize
everything
is
else.
right, and then what they don't realize, you can have a Hall of Fame resume without
A
a
championship.
championship. I mean,
Yeah.
look at the NFL Hall of Fame. How many players in there don't have Super Bowl rings? A
Yeah.
ton.
Yeah.
A ton.
Yeah. Like, would you
And
look at Dan Marino and be like, he's not a Hall of Famer. He doesn't have a ring. It's like,
yeah,
I don't know. He might be the greatest throw of a football we've ever seen. I'm pretty sure he's a Hall of Famer. Like, yeah. And look, even, you know, NASCAR, even more so today than ever before, it's such a team sport. Yes, those drivers carry the brunt of it, but it is a team sport, man. It absolutely is. And you can have situations where the car's not good or, you know, a bad pit stop, right? And it could not even be anyone's fault. You could have just a gun jam, right? An airline break, something fluky. So,
or the car fall off the jack. I mean, we've
yeah.
seen that with Joey Logano in the 2014 championship
Yep.
race.
You know what I mean?
Probably was
So, there's
probably had a very
just,
good shot at dethroning Kevin Harvick at the time,
yep.
and the car fall off the jack, and
Yep. There's just
anything
so
can
much
happen.
that can happen. Exactly. So yeah, I'm with you. I agree with Denny on that. And I believe that he truly believes that. So all right, moving on. So this last week, the National Motorsports Appeals Panel was correct when they upheld the $100,000 fine and 50-point penalty to Cole Custer and the number 41 Stewart Haas Racing Team for artificially altering the race's finishing order at the Roval. Hit or miss the mark?
I think it hits. I think it misses the mark because either way, Chase Briscoe was taking the spot.
I'm with
Whether
you on that. I think he was
whether the
taking the spot either way. Yep.
yeah, whether the problem was going to happen or not, or the the whole ordeal.
Yeah,
And
I just don't think it would have been as clean if he hadn't
no,
lifted because he was going
no,
for it either way.
and I got the argument from somebody. Well, he was locked in. Well, do you know that Chase knows he was locked in?
Yeah,
Have you heard that? Because I haven't. And if I'm Chase and I'm coming down to that bus stop not knowing, yeah, I'm gonna send it. And here's where I'm really off. If that changed the outcome of a race, what the hell did Chase Elliott do last year at Bristol? That didn't change the outcome
exactly.
of a race. That really changed the outcome of a race. It changed who was gonna win the race.
Hmm.
And there was even radio proof to back it up from Chase. But hey, that was last year. This is this year, and I don't think the 41 team or crew chief or spotter did anything wrong. I mean, we see it every weekend. Teams helping their teammates.
Yeah,
I mean, what the hell's the difference? I mean, yeah, I guess you could argue it if you go by the car data, the throttle tracing and the brake tracing, but still, you set a precedent last year at Bristol.
yeah. No, I'm with you. I am with you on that. Now I will say this: the
Tire
appeals.
didn't look flat. I will
No,
say
it
that.
did not. It did not. Now, the National Motorsports Appeals Panel is not NASCAR. So that is something that you guys need to understand, those of you listening. They are two different bodies, right? So I remember we covered this with the William Byron situation where the appeals panel is not NASCAR. They are a complete separate entity. There is a third party. So for them to do this, um, I'm fine with that. Okay, because this wasn't NASCAR's call. NASCAR, you're right. NASCAR should have done this last year with Chase Elliott. They didn't. They did it with Cole Custer. Okay. You're being inconsistent on previous calls. That being said, if this is the route that you're going to go from this day forward, okay, but be consistent with it moving forward. That's my only thing. Is I don't like the fact that they've been inconsistent on this. If you're going
All
to
year.
if you're going to maintain this, right? We can chalk up 2022 as the year of the fuck up and move forward. I'm fine with that. Just be consistent, okay? So for me, the panel, the way that they saw it, I'm fine with it if they want to uphold it, because to me the fault is on NASCAR for the initial confusion and screw up, in my
And
opinion.
and I think what saved them on the appeal, they went back and rewrote the role after William
They
Byron's
did.
incident.
They did. Yep.
So, I mean, therefore, it wasn't black and white, and they hurried up and made it black and white,
Yes.
so this situation didn't happen again.
Yep. You're
Because 'cause they're
right.
trying to set something.
Yep.
Well, you should have done it months ago, y
Exactly. That's
years ago.
that's the thing. That's the
Nothing
thing.
has been black and white all the way up to the playoffs last season.
Oh my God,
'Cause,
I've
I
been
mean,
dancing
there's
in the
been
gray for
yeah. Well,
decades.
and I think we seen it at was it Indy this year where Ross Chastain damn near took a shortcut, or he did take a shortcut at Indy.
Yeah, he was cutting across the
I
corner
mean,
there. Yeah. Like massively.
and didn't attempt to make the corner. I mean, I just
No, it was
the rules don't make any sense anymore.
they don't. They don't. And
It,
that's the
it
thing. They need to sit down and really go through them and get this stuff lined up. Get
and
it lined out in a
and
in a legit way.
what it reminds me of is Bush League.
Yep.
You're the top echelon of motorsports in the North America region, and you're botching rules and you're remaking up rules. I mean, we seen what Bristol last season. They couldn't get the restarts together, and bam, we're going to
Mhm.
single file restarts and then back to double. It just none of it makes any sense.
Nope, you're right. You're right. So yeah, I'm with you on that one. So all right. Last one for hit or miss, and it's a biggie. So after a horrible finish at the National Open, and I know all you Pennsylvania posse guys were celebrating after freaking Lance DeWeese, dude, that guy, I tell you what, man, if I can ever bet on sprint car racing, you best believe that's my bet at the freaking at Williams Grove. That guy's insane. So
Hey, at least I can say the guy I picked finished second.
there you go. Yeah, they're incredible, man. Damn posse driver. So after a horrible after a horrible finish at the National Open, Brad Sweet's points lead is now down to a mere 16 points over David Gravel. With only the World Finals remaining, David Gravel will get his first Outlaw Point Championship this year at the World Finals. Keith, does that hit or miss the mark?
I think it's going to hit the mark because it's going to put that 49 team in a situation they've not been in a very long time. Because usually coming into the World Finals, they've either been crowned the champion when they unloaded, or they were the champion the week before, or the race before. I think now, with the pressure, with the two being 16 points behind, is going to add more pressure to the 49. And I hate to say it, but I think they're going to fold under the pressure. We're going to see a new champion. David Gravel's going to get it done, and I think he's going to win the World Finals to get it done.
Oh man, I have been going back and forth on this, dude, and I honestly,
If it's going to happen, it's going to be this year.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. And when you look at the year that Gravel has had, he has had about as good of a season as you could have. When you start, basically putting their seasons head to head, I mean, both have 66 starts, obviously. Sweet with 5 wins, Gravel 7. Sweet 38 top 5s, Gravel 39. Sweet 56 top 10s, Gravel 58. The only thing that's basically gotten Brad Sweet, when you look at their stats, the lead over David Gravel is David Gravel just happens to have 1 or 2 more of those horrendous finishes, right? Where the car breaks and they finish 23rd out of 24th or whatever. He's just got 1 or 2 more of those over Brad Sweet. Like, that's been the thing. Sweet's consistency has been where it's at. Last year, I was at the World Finals. Brad Sweet, all he had to do was qualify on night 1, and the championship was locked up. That's not the case this year going into the finals. There's 4 nights of the World Finals. Each series that's there is running 3 out of the 4 nights. The Outlaws are running Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, the sprint cars. Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. So I'm really interested. I am really interested to see what's going to happen Wednesday night. I think if Gravel cuts into that lead Wednesday night, if he goes out and he beats Sweet and he cuts into that lead, and now it's 10 points and not 16, it doesn't even have to be a lot. He just takes 4 or 5 points off, and Sweet feels that pressure and has a whole day Thursday to sit on it and think about it going into Friday. I think Gravel is going to win it. I think if Brad Sweet goes out Wednesday night and he has a good finish, he beats David Gravel and just pulls. He doesn't have to pull away a lot. Just pull away. I mean, instead of it being 16, makes it 20 points. I think Sweet wins the championship. I've got to see Wednesday night first. You know what I mean? I'm with you because Gravel, he's in the attack mode right now. And if he's going to win the championship, this is the best shot that he's had that I can remember. I can't remember him being this close at this point in the season. So, it's gonna be close. It's gonna be really close, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited for it, man.
And I am too, because I don't think in recent years we've not seen the 49 in a situation like this. Because last year all he had to do was qualify.
Yes.
The year before that, all they had to do was unload the car from the trailer.
Yep.
And they won the championship. I think the year before that, all they had to do was show up.
Yeah, pretty much. Now, I will say this, and I'm trying to remember, was it 18 or 19? Hold on, let me look real quick. Because I know one year he barely won, and I can't remember if it was his first or second. It was his first championship. Yeah, so in 2019, Sweet's first championship, he he beat Schatz by 4 points. I remembered it was one of them. So he's been there before. It's just been a long time. But here's the thing. That was a different story then. He was the hunter, not the hunted. Donnie Schatz was the returning. Schatz had been the one who had been winning all the championships. This was Sweet's first shot to win it. And now, 2022, Gravel is in the position that Sweet was going into those world finals. So it's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to next week. I'm looking forward to this next weekend's races. I cannot wait to watch him. I literally cannot wait to watch him. So it's gonna be exciting, man. And I don't even know who to go with. I'll tell you this. I want to say Sweet just because of the fact that I raced with them and stuff like that, but if David Gravel wins, I'll be happy too. Cause I think the more people who win championships in those, you know what I mean? Like that at that level, I just think it's awesome. Right.
Yeah.
As much as we love to see the dominance and it's cool when these guys are on a run. I think it would be great. David Gravel is a very deserving champion, right? You can make that case for, Sheldon Haudenschild, Carson Macedo, even, Logan Schuchart. Schuchart finished second in the points a couple seasons ago. Obviously, Donnie Schatz, he's got 10 of them, so he's good. But I mean, there's a lot of drivers that you can make that case for that have had phenomenal seasons. And unfortunately, they just happened to be racing at a time when there was someone just slightly better. And so I would like to see Gravel get a championship because I think he is a very deserving one. He has had a phenomenal season and has come on strong here in the second half. And, I will say if Brad Sweet does get the championship this year, this will be I would have to say one of his best championship runs just because of the amount of things that they have had to persevere this season. It's been incredible.
And I agree with that. And I think if I recall earlier, way on at the beginning of the podcast, we said David Gravel would have a chance
Yes, we did.
if they had a strong second half of the season. Something that they've never done before.
Yep.
They've
We
done
did
it.
talk about that really early on in the summer.
And I think David Gravel comes in and he shuts the door and he says, "Thanks, Brad. You were the champion. I'm the new champion."
Now it's my time.
I think David's going to have a little extra motivation. He had a baby a couple weeks ago, and this is the closest that he's been at the championship. And I don't think they're going to fold under pressure. If anything, I think they do a little better under pressure. It is going to be. I think this championship is going to be more exciting than the NASCAR championship.
I do too. I do too. I'm with you on that.
Between this championship and the Xfinity championship race, these two are going to be more exciting than the pavement NASCAR stuff.
Yeah, the Xfinity championship
Or
is
the Cup Series.
definitely going to be exciting. Yeah, we're going to talk about that next week. Next week we got championship week. So it's going to be, we're going to cover that next week. Cause that with Josh Berry and Noah Gragson and we haven't got those two are locked into the final four, but
True. And Noah Gragson.
Yeah. It's just, so it's going to be fun, man. So I definitely looking forward to this next week's racing because we've got a lot of good stuff on the docket. So it's going to be fun.
And I think this is going to be the first time on both sides of the sprint cars, whether it's USAC or World of Outlaws, where it's going to come down to championship night for both.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, there is a tight points battle in the sprint car championship with Justin Grant and Brady Bacon. Yeah. Grant's only got, I want to say it's like 70 something points. 70 points, 77 points, something like that, 75, something like that. So, and they've got 3 nights at Paris, I believe, coming up. So, well, they've got Kokopah this weekend, and then next week they've got 3 nights in Paris. So, I should actually try to go down to that. I shouldn't say that's not far. It's a 7-hour drive for me, but that would be fun. It would be worth it. Yeah, I might have to go down there for that. We'll see. Convince my wife. Come on, babe, we're going to the sprint car races. There you go. It would be a business trip. I could classify it as a business trip.
That's what I
doing
would say.
work for the podcast. Absolutely. So
Got a recon here.
exactly, exactly. I got to go down and do some interviews for the show. Just
Yeah,
walk
yeah,
around with
there
my
we go.
phone. Yeah, just walk around
Yeah.
with my phone, asking questions. So, all right. So that's going to do it all for the hit or miss portion of the show. So before we wrap things up for this week, we do have a listener email question. And if you guys want to send us a question or a comment or anything, whatever, you can send it to ask3wide@gmail.com. That's ask the number 3wide@gmail.com. There's also, you'll see it down in the description of this podcast and the information. So this is from Casey. He makes it really, really quick and simple. He says, "Hey, Tommy, Keith, love the show. You guys have talked about it before, but I was just wondering, would you guys ever race again in real life? Thanks." Well, Casey, Keith, you can go first on this. Will you ever race again in real life?
Um, I would say for the opportunity to do it again, every star would have to align just perfect. If one's just out of line, no. Everything's got to be just perfect. Unfortunately, probably not. Um, Therefore, I mean, I've taken the back seat of the racing, trying to get back into racing. I mean, I got kids now. I want to try getting my son Parker into it,
Yeah,
and grow a bond with him like me and my dad did. That and the love to do it. I would love to do it, but the opportunity's got to be there. I mean, with everything being price wise through the roof right now, and tires are expensive, more expensive than what they ever have been.
yeah,
It's not looking good. So I'd say no. I'll stick to iRacing though.
yeah. I'm with you on
Don't
that.
get hurt on iRacing, and I
It's
can reset, and I don't have to pay for the car.
Exactly, exactly. Now, I'm with you on that. For me personally, for me, it's yes and no, and I'll explain what I mean by that. So for me personally, to get out there and actually race again, I've actually looked into it. I actually have gotten some people that I have met through the sim racing community um, who have offered me, you know, hey man, if you're ever out here, let me know and I'll let you run my car. I mean, I've had people tell me this with mostly mini sprints, the 600s. Um, there's two in North Carolina who've told me this, and one in, I want to say Ohio. It could be Ohio. I can't remember if it's Ohio or Indiana. Please forgive me that I'm getting it wrong. Well, I shouldn't even say his name. I don't know if he wants me to say that. But anyways, so I've had a couple people do that. I've actually had another guy who actually doesn't live that far from me. He just got a dwarf car and he just said, "Hey man, we'll have to get you over here and get you in it." Obviously not a race, but just to race, to kind of take it around the track, test it out, that type of thing. Because I've never driven a dwarf car before, which would be cool. Um, I would love to race again. I've never raced anything bigger than an outlaw car. One of my greatest regrets of my life was not running the dirt midget when I had a chance. I had a ride lined up for a race. I was going to be paying $500 to race the car for the weekend. I knew the car very well. It was the car I worked on all the time, and the car owner was gonna make a deal with me just because he liked me, and let me run the car at the race that was going to be at my home dirt track. The race was in like 3 months. I had moved up to Washington. I hadn't moved up there yet. I had gone up there to visit family. I ended up staying up there a lot longer than planned. At the time, you guys know I've told the stories before. I was battling drug addiction and stuff like that back then, and I ended up staying up there thinking a change of scenery would do me good. And I missed the race. I wasn't back for the race. One of the greatest regrets of my life. I would not have gone out there and done very good. I would. It's not like I would have gone out there and been awesome and got a ride in a dirt midget and life would have changed. No, it just was an experience that I wanted to have, and I have never got to have it. So, as much as I regret that, I don't see me ever doing that. That being said, if I were to ever come across the financial means to race, I would be back in racing. I don't think it would be as a driver. I actually have much more interest in being a car owner. That is actually something I'm already looking at. Now, my plan is 8 to 10 years out. Okay, this is something I'm wanting to do when my son is out of high school. Okay, he's 9 years old now, so I've got a long ways to go with this. But something that I would like to do when I'm older, late 40s, early 50s, is own a car and have others drive it and give kids or upcoming drivers an opportunity that I never got. I got it in an Outlaw card. I never got it in anything else. Um, because I love racing and I love, being at the dirt tracks, and it would be fun to just go out and travel the country racing with me and my wife and me owning the car. So that is something I do want to do. But in terms of me being behind the wheel, I don't see that happening. Like Keith said, the stars would have to align. If I were to hit the Powerball, right? Like, let's say I buy, and it's
Oh, in that case, yeah,
yeah,
I'll be racing tomorrow.
yeah, I hit the $600 million, $700 million Powerball. You'll read about it, and you'll be like, "Hey, Tommy Brandon just started a new USAC sprint car and midget team." Because I can tell you exactly what I'd be doing. I would go out, I would buy the cars, sprint cars and midgets. I would go right up to Justin Grant and T-Mez, and I'd say, whatever you're being paid, I'll double it. Come run for me. Oh, by the way, Keith, pack your shit. You're coming out to Cali.
Perfect.
And we would go racing, man, and it would just be awesome. And I'd be like, hey, T-Mez, Grant, you're my teachers. Get to work. What the hell do I need to do? So if I ever become a billionaire, then yes. But other than that, I don't see me driving again. No. Like Keith said, I want to get my son into it. My son wants to race. We've been looking at putting together an Outlaw card for him. So that's something that we've been talking about. But even that, Keith, you're talking about the money. Even that, it's so expensive,
Oh my
man.
gosh,
The money's
dude.
insane, dude. It's just insane, man.
I was I was going back at I think I was at work, and I was just sitting thinking about it, like, damn, it was so much cheaper to race when I
Mm-hmm.
first started
Yep.
than it would be now to get my boy started, and it even to get him going, I think every star would have to align, everything would have to be perfect, I'd have to find a killer deal that I couldn't turn down. Uh,
Yes.
Either way, I wanna get him into racing at some point, whether it be from the fan side or teach him about the ins and the outs and maybe turn him into a
Yeah.
Hall of Fame USAC crew chief. You
There you
never know.
go. There you go. Yeah, and that's always a good way to get into it too, is just turning the wrenches. That's how I was. I kind of knew I was never going to be a driver. So I went to the
And
mechanic side of it.
nowadays anymore, I find more fun and enjoyment into that than I would driving.
I'm with you. I always loved that. That I as much as I loved driving and look, driving, racing, being behind the wheel was a rush. It was fun, man. But I enjoyed the crew chiefing aspect more. I really did. I geeked out on it, man. I loved sitting there talking to the driver and what's the car doing and breaking it down and walking the track and trying to figure out how can I make this thing faster? How can I make this thing better? You know what I mean? Like I just love that. I mean, I love it to this day, and I only do it now on a sim, but I love it. I
Yeah,
absolutely love it.
and
It's so much fun.
and that's where I'm at with it. Like you don't get the physical toll on your body
Yes,
not doing
exactly.
it anymore because I had a big flip at Lawrenceburg Speedway in 2010, and I've not been able to pop my neck since then. Like,
See,
how
that's
you get
oh
that
man,
feeling where, damn, I need to crack my neck, and I can't. It's very rare that I can, and it's happened ever since then. And that's always set back in the back of my mind. Like, would I want to get back in the car and do that? Absolutely. Would it suck to have that happen? It would.
absolutely yes.
But I mean, that comes with it.
Yep, it does. It does. So thank you very much for the question, Casey. I really appreciate it. So, but you guys, that's gonna do it all for this week. Now we will be back next Thursday. Like I said, we got really, really busy week with a bunch of stuff going on. So we will be back next Thursday to cover all of that and to get ready for the finale in the Outlaws and NASCAR, a bunch of series. So we'll be back. So until then, please make sure, download, subscribe, share it with your friends. Hell, share it with your enemies. We don't really care. Just share it. Just get it out there. And if you guys do that, we will be back next week to do it all over again. So Keith, my man, have a good weekend. Get some sleep.
I think I've got enough sleep.
There you
I
go.
definitely overslept yesterday.
Yep.
So yeah, I think I'm good. I think I'm good on the sleep. Biggest
All
thing
right.
now is get prepared for winter.
There you
Indoor
go.
racing season's right around the corner.
Yes, it is. It is. I've been loving the weather here. It's been so nice to not be sitting in
Oh
my
man,
office
it's
sweating.
we've had little bit of freezing temperatures here, but it's back to fall. It's like 60, 70 degrees outside, comfortable
Yes.
fall weather.
Yep. Gets down into the 40s in the morning and it's up to 70 degrees in the afternoon. Perfect.
It's times like now where I wish racetracks ran a little bit longer.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, this is the. It's like, can we extend the season? Maybe we,
A couple weeks.
yeah, extend it just a little bit. I don't know. Maybe we take a summer break. Say, hey, July, we're not racing no more. We're gonna race through October.
Hey, now that I could get down with,
I'm
especially
okay
in
with that.
Indiana.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. So, but anyways, that's gonna do it, you guys. Thank you very much as always. So until next week, want to wish you guys a great weekend. Take care.